Welcome everyone, Simon here from the Whales of Wall Street, a Powerledger video for you guys today. POWR on the exchange. We're going to talk particularly about P2P or peer-to-peer carbon trading. This is a big topic, and also some really interesting insights to some potential developments within parliamentary level here in the United Kingdom to bring this to life. We've seen, of course, recently the UK's law situation of approval towards trade finance digitalization. We've also seen the law passing and regulation passing of cryptocurrencies, digital currencies and stablecoins in general, approved by the King himself, passed through Parliament, passed through the King, all in fruition for the years to come. But one thing outstanding is the energy sector as well, and we might have identified here some really interesting areas that we can apply this peer-to-peer trading model on as well, especially in the fact that here in the UK currently, as it stands, there is no legal framework, as it were, for P2P trading. We'll look at a bit of those advancements and how Powerledger sits within that as well. Before we go into it, don't forget to smash that subscribe button if you haven't done so already. Welcome to the channel if you're new. Welcome back if you've been with us for some time. And also, if you wouldn't mind, please hitting that like button, the big thumbs up underneath as well. Massively helps the channel and gets our education out even further to the masses. Let's go straight into this, guys. Really interesting topics here. So we've got, first of all, as I mentioned, the ability of Powerledger is very interesting. There's a lot of case studies out there. We've done a big intro video. I'll leave it at the end of this one, so I won't go into giant detail. But there's obviously a huge topic around at the moment about peer-to-peer energy trading. This means that we can become prosumers. We can see the full transparency of carbon networks. So where at the moment, of course, we have our wonderfully high energy bills, we don't really know how they kind of formulate correctly. We've got things like regulators here in the UK, like Ofgem, which are supposedly regulating the energy space. But here we are still with high standard rates. Where is our energy coming from realistically? And what are the intermediaries in between that are rising those costs as well? And a lot of that can be diminished with the fact that we've got blockchain technology now for verification and processing power, transactional power as well. But now an ability for us all to become prosumers. This means that we can get any excess energy that we accumulate, whether it be through our solar panels, local community hubbed wind turbines and things like this, and transfer that across around the world in carbon trading aspect, carbon credits. Absolutely huge opportunity here to utilize the POWR token when we come to utilizing this in a consumer fashion and commercial level as well. There is a Sparks token, by the way, which you convert the Power token to use in the consumer format. The point being is that this Power token has a massive utility moving forwards in the years to come. There's some other huge areas that we've identified over the last few years, particularly on this channel, when we talk about things like IoT and AI. This is very important when we talk about supply and demand generation, particularly for the energy sector, and identifying really any excess energy at the national grid level. There's so much energy produced and so much wastage in the multi-millions, if not billions of dollars worth a year going to waste that's just not used by the infrastructures or ourselves as consumers. So all of this can potentially stop or at least be reduced significantly, so there is not as much money being wasted, and hence that would ultimately not be passed down as much to us as users, the end users, and reductions hopefully in bills. So with that in mind, this becomes quite interesting when we look at things like this. Now, this is the closest thing at the moment that we can identify where there could be digitalization, or law passing within the infrastructure of the use of peer-to-peer trading in energy. Now, this energy bill was originally, I believe, called the Energy Security Bill, and it's just recently changed, I think, around July 2022. So since then, changing from Energy Security Bill to the Energy Bill. This currently, guys, is in the report stage, nearly on the third reading. So we're not far off from this going across to amendments and then royal assent. It's very convenient that this is all happening at the similar time as all the digital currencies and the frameworks for trade finance are being agreed upon as well and passed through by law. We talk about here about heat networks, energy smart appliances, and loads of other things like load control. This is heavily involved with the likes of AI integration and IoT appliance as well. And many other aspects of this. It doesn't specifically announce or mention blockchain technology, unless we go into some of the really interesting documentation here from the Parliament post here. If we go to page 2, huge renditions of information here around Internet of Things, i.e. anything that connects to the internet. There's a product. You could talk about smart plugs, security cameras, fridges now, washing machines, all these things. If you think about that from an energy perspective, it becomes very interesting from supply and demand mechanisms, or how much heat do we actually need? How much electricity do we actually need based on our proper usage? So all these things are coming into play. Artificial intelligence, from the fact of data driving these areas of interest in the frameworks. Again, talking about that supply demand mechanism. Look at this. The incorporation of AI into the energy sector may boost global domestic product, or GDP, by 4.4%. 4.4% doesn't sound like a big number there, but it's approximately 3.82 trillion pounds worth, guys. Absolutely staggering, while helping reduce global carbon emissions by up to 4% in that itself as well. In the Internet of Things side of aspects, Gartner estimated that approximately 1.17 billion IoT devices were installed worldwide in utility grids in 2019 report. That's staggering. Absolutely huge, and that's just in infrastructure, let alone the things that we have as consumers in our own domestic homes. Absolutely massive. As of 2021, there were 24.2 million smart meters in homes and small businesses. Absolutely crazy there as well. So we've got this automation going on, guys. Will we see these bill reductions in the future? Hopefully, but the fact that there's powers and technology like Powerledger involved in all this kind of thing moving forward gives us a huge opportunity and a huge area of excitement potentially as an energy consumer to have this occur. And the fact that we can pass this on to other people around the world or in our own local communities, hence why part of the big development of the Agenda 30 program through the UN, it's all signed by I think over 150 countries in 2015. A big area of this is of course sustainability, and certainly the energy sector as well. And in part of this, they were to create the community hubs, which is why you see all these big residential areas going up, 4,000 to 6,000 houses, sometimes more in a big area. They'll accommodate a doctor's surgery, a school in that as well, and some other things, commodities, amenities, etc. And this is the whole point, was to try and reduce people going outside of these hubs to other areas. They have everything they need. That's not saying that you can't go outside that area unless CBDCs really do become programmable with some areas, particularly from the emissions perspective and the ESG talk that's going on right now. But the point being is that all these new houses and everything with solar panels, etc., can contribute to not just the national grid system, but also their local area as well, and to help thy neighbour, as the old wording says. So it's really interesting to see this development. As I said, the energy market is worth trillions upon trillions of dollars in general. We've just seen some numbers there in that parliamentary post about how much this could help in terms of the economy growth as well. But it's really exciting time as we see these developments and projects like Powerledger really enhancing the solutions. I mean, there's loads of other areas as well here. I'm sure there's going to be a huge area around hydrogen. We've talked many times on many videos about the EV infrastructure, the electric vehicles, eventually going on to wireless charging. We're obviously in this application of using meters for powering up our energy, electric cars, and all these things going on. You can imagine the scale of this when we introduce things like the 4G SIMs and data SIMs within cars, the chipsets, etc., to accommodate this whole tracking perspective, then relating all the way around the circle to things like IoT and artificial intelligence, accommodated with distributed ledger technology. This is where the interesting thing comes in. So DLT has been proposed as a way to manage future energy systems which are likely to be increasingly decentralized. This is where we get a bit of power back, guys. Hopefully, fingers crossed, seeing that potential development with DLT technology. So this is where it all comes together. All these narratives we've talked about on the channel for a long time are coming into fruition. So when we come back to this energy bill, yes, okay, it doesn't mention blockchain specifically. I'm sure they might make some amendments there, because in the original security bills, they did mention this aspect of blockchain technology being used. But when we look at all the little individual areas here that they mention, these all will have an application of blockchain in some format regardless. So it's going to be really exciting developments going on. I don't know when the next readings or anything like that are, But of course, as we said, we're in the reporting stage right now. The sitting is on the 5th of September. So let's keep an eye out for this, guys, because I do think in these coming months, certainly leading to winter, think about the narratives here, guys, when energy bills start going up. Oh, hey, guys, we've got the answer. We've got the solution. We create the problem. We have the solution already. Implement the solution. Hey, presto, you've got the reaction. A reaction in market. You've got reaction to people's excitement towards all this kind of stuff. And it really paints a picture, paints a story. And there are a few companies here in the UK, as there are in other countries around the world, companies like Urban Chain, for example, to name one at least, where they are developing the P2P platforms for this kind of technology enhancement for us as users. But there are bigger companies out there like Powerledger, for example, that have really upscaled their efforts in blockchain integration into the energy sector. So things are coming, guys. It's really exciting to see this. There's a nice article here which I'll leave a link to at the end of this video as well. This is from Deloitte. Very much again talking about AI and data. Think about these naming protocols, guys, these abbreviations that are really important to the development of energy moving forward. But we can look here even about this. The current system is struggling to deal with these developments, and this leads to higher energy bills, increased investment costs, and more complex challenges to the DSOs and TSOs. So he's talking here even about the aspect here of the existing frameworks being so expensive, the intermediaries, the frameworks, the constant management of them. Going to a peer-to-peer system can really help reduce this cost, and ultimately for us as bill payers at the end of it too. So I'll leave this in there because there is some nice notations here about blockchain technology as well as some other areas of interest that you might find interesting. So have a look at those when you get a second. It's really interesting. But yes, that is ultimately some of the really interesting things that are coming our way to really enhance our understanding, our awareness of energy sector related tokens, and particularly things like Powerledger moving forwards. I'm looking forward to the near future to see this happening. Guys, now we've got that out of the way, let's go into a bit of chart detail about Power, because we touched upon it just a minute ago about the previous all-time highs. Where we are right now, let's have a look at that. So we'll just switch over to the chart. So here is the chart for Powerledger using that POWR token, as using Binance data currently. There's some really interesting points here to make. First being that whenever there's kind of like a relatively good announcement or development within Powerledger, you do see these spikes up. Most recently, we saw this one between the 10th and the 14th of July, respectively. I'm just going to quickly draw into the chart here for the price range increase. Just give you a bit of an idea around that. So it was around about 92, 93% of an uptake there in that period of time. So because there's not giant volumes compared to many other assets out there, there is quite a good opportunity here and there for those kind of spikes to occur, and particularly good for those day traders out there or short-term traders to take advantage of that, both on the uprise and the downward trend as well. But no matter what happens, we tend to always have a quick reduction back into a stable position for Powerledger's token. There's been a couple instances right in the last few weeks, for example, where currently floating around 15.7 cents on the chart as we're recording today. But you can see that there's good opportunities to potentially get these lower levels, which kind of reflect a point that we made in the previous video, and I'll reiterate it today, is that we have very limited data points at these kind of rough stages around 12 to 15 cents. So we really need to define and confirm these as support areas to indeed even move like beyond to the prices where we were before, up into 20 cents and beyond. So to do that, obviously we need to tick these off, and also to do that we tend to have to go even lower to confirm that that's definitely a support level, as we see resistance on the way down and pulls it back up. So there's a few things to look out for if you're new to Powerledger. Just have some of these kind of things in mind. I have the DCA strategy of buying Powerledger in various different incremental levels, different price points, of course, on the way up and down, simply because I believe in a long-term strategy personally. You guys might be different, but Powerledger has a massive opportunity to hit some really high price points in the future. That is for sure. So these current price points, whether you looked at 10 cents, 15 cents, we're thinking Powerledger is going to be in the high dollar marks over the coming years. It's not a humongous issue, but of course, as I said, if you're accumulating as many as you can, it does make a difference. And of course, if you are day trading or short-term trading, it makes an even bigger difference as well. So there's some current price areas. I haven't moved these at all from the last videos. I've still got my buy orders in just above the 10 cent mark and slightly higher at this 12.4 cent mark as well. This is kind of moving around the fib levels that we've got here. These are always a good guide. They're not always 100% accurate, but they're usually very close. And you can even see that in some instances where we've taken these long-term ones and some of these short-term moves from previous data, that we hit these points quite significantly. You can see one, you could argue this one potentially as well, not too far off there, but the principle being is that this was clearly too much to handle for the POWR token. And then we brought ourselves back down, and you can see the volatility between each of these lines. So as I said, it's not 100% accurate because sometimes it doesn't always touch them to the nose, but it gives you a very good idea, and you can start positioning things at certain areas based on this, as well as looking at historic data. I make the really important mark about that because, as I said, very small amounts of data suggesting that this is a confirmation area of support at this sort of 10-11 cent mark. So I do anticipate to come back down to those areas at some point in the coming weeks or coming months. The bull cycle is still further in the distance, in my opinion, maybe into 2024 and certainly into 2025. So there's a bit of time here for us to accumulate. The RSIs are showing 49 and 50 on the 14-day and 28-day respectively. These are a bit high for me to DCA in at the moment, so I'm just waiting a few more days to see if that calms down. That gives me the verification in my head to go, okay, we're a bit stable here, I can DCA in. Even if it's at this exact price that it gets to now, we do see that that sustainability there. But also the opportunity, which is where we come into risk management, to make sure that we have some capital available for these lower regions, and I have those in the form of limit orders, which means that the orders are pretty much on the books, as it were, in my account, particularly on Qcoin as an example, ready for those purchases, so I don't have to worry about them. I tend to adjust them if they're really far off or we start making bigger moves, but at the moment it's very much relative for sure in these current areas. Performance wise on the RAND side, you can see it's not doing amazingly well. The year to date is still relatively strong, but there's negativity on pretty much the weekly, the 3 month, the 1 month being dragged down slightly. It's really up in the green, to be honest, for that move that we had on that sort of 10 to 14 day, 14th, of July's movements there. So that's why that's in a bit of green there. If that didn't happen, we would probably be in negative on that one as well. So there's a few things to think about there. Of course, the POWR token is quite strong in terms of its usability, its utility. We know that it's very much something that people have to also use to switch over to the consumer token, which is the Sparks token, but that's not, I don't believe the Sparks token is available on exchanges. You have to basically use the POWR token to create that bond and then swap it around, and that's where the consumer element really kicks in. But there's a multitude of other reasons why the POWR token is used, particularly as an access permission. I think this is terminology that people need to get more and more used to. The access permission token, which basically the users just have to use on the platform to create that Sparks token, and of course power the system too. So there's a few renditions there of why I'm still in with Powerledger across this whole video that we've gone through. I think there's some really big things coming. I'm really interested to see the development of this utility bill, or energy bill, sorry. I said earlier about why they called it energy bill, and I'm here talking about it as a utility bill. Energy bill, a very clever wording, of course. I mean, there's not many other words you could call it, actually. But yes, this energy bill could be very fascinating indeed from the UK parliamentary perspective, and how we then move forwards into this P2P trading aspect of energy. And I'm sure many other countries are pushing this as well. We know France have been doing it for a few years. So there's loads to go for here. Amongst some of the other tokens that we talk about, of course, Energy Web is slightly different to Powerledger in the sense that Powerledger has got some really good case studies here of actual application. It's been building apartments and things with the ability to utilize that P2P trading method. So loads of things happening. The energy sector is huge. I'm really excited about this. Please do leave your comments below on anything related to Powerledger and any other tokens related to energy that we're perhaps missing out on and you want us to cover. Do let us know. Other than EWT, of course, we cover that quite a bit. But there's some big things in the pipeline for Powerledger as a technology, as a project, but even bigger things in terms of the market that's going for. Thanks for watching, guys. We will see you in the next Powerledger video. Take care and bye-bye.